fun class, right? Effectively running a relay race, and you're wondering, what the heck is this gonna be all about? So I'm gonna tell you. Yeah. Anybody needing special accommodations, know that the chairs with the green ribbons on it are for you, and that this is a safe space, and we are gonna have a lot of fun. How many of you are, just so I know, how many of you are chapter leaders? All right, anybody wanna be a chapter leader? That's not. I think everybody is, okay.
That's not.
All right.
That's a trick question.
All right, so I'm gonna go over what we're gonna cover today. I'm gonna do a little welcome activity. I'm gonna talk about objectives. I'm gonna talk about a Leadership 13 project, and I have a couple of my people who are with me on that Leadership 13 project. I'm sorry, this is gonna have to change. Is that any better? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I won't touch it now. How many of you know what the Leadership 13 program is? Can I share what that program is?
Please.
Because there'll be a new cohort starting up at some time, and actually,
It's already started.
I know, but there'll be another one.
This is the email.
But I'm gonna have Sally Ryerson, who is one of the leaders of that program, and I'm putting her on the spot because I didn't tell her I was gonna ask her this, but can you just tell them about that program?
Right. We have been looking for a while for some sort of leadership training program for the region, and we kind of came up with an idea to model it after some of the community leadership programs that are popular around, where businesses send someone from their business to a 6-month or so program and learn all about leadership and have opportunities to network and learn about their community. So we have a leadership committee. It is Paula Davis, Deborah Onks, Diana Jordan, and myself. We have prepared a curriculum for this class, and we had our first class 2 years ago. We had 14 people. They did a great job. Most of them enjoyed it so much and wanted to do more. They came back for a second year, and we focused that on some project work. And one of the projects is what Sandy's going to talk to you about today. Another one of the projects we had was the grant writing handbook, which I mentioned in a class I did earlier. A third project had to do with financial systems for our region. And you may notice as you registered for things that we have a new system. That came out of a third project. And a fourth project is still kind of in the works, hasn't quite gotten finished, but the idea for that was how to keep our, I say older, I'm not sure if that's it, but people who are not active but still sweet allies, how to keep them engaged and get them, keep them back volunteering or being involved. So a really good broad range of helpful, useful, good projects came out of this. Our second class just started in June, and it probably won't run for 2 years. We're going to try to combine more of it into 1 year, and so that we'll have another class. So keep it in mind for yourself or for others in your course you see have potential and you want to give them some help. There is no cost. Most everything is on Zoom. We did just enjoy a lunch together with the members of this year's class. So please spread that word. Keep it in mind and keep those people in mind. Give them something, a really good experience, I think.
Thanks, Sally, for that promotional. All right, I've adjusted my mic because it was making a lot of strange noises every time I moved, so hopefully it's not too annoying. So we're going to do, I believe in interactive classes. So I hate this room setup. So I may have you move in some chairs so that we can get into smaller groups and do some sharing activities. So I'm telling you that up front. And we're going to go into the actual fruit or the meat of the Leadership 13 project that we worked on, which was developing a blueprint on orienting your new team members. And if you have a great orientation program for new team members, they're gonna go out and say, hey, you can do this too, because they're gonna teach you what you need to do to serve on this leadership team. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. So, here. Did it go? Okay, we're having fun, cause it's not moving like it should be moving. Turn the clicker on. So I just had him fix my machine so I could get this right, and it's not wanting to move from one side on the screen. You betcha. This. If I wanna go up one slide and then move, so see it's not changing here.
Did it change now?
No. So
Okay.
I'm not sure what he changed, but. Don't we love technology, you know, and I'm one of the technology gurus, what do you think about that? Yeah. But you know, when you're trying to get ready to do this and you wanna make sure you do it right and you've checked everything, but not used to the projector, he just changed a setting on my machine so that you can see the slides, but they're not progressing. So,
Yeah, it's just showing this one.
yeah, see, it's something
Grows it
changed.
somehow.
Yeah, yep.
Is this not copying? Sorry about that.
So anyway,
Okay.
somebody went to get him, I think. So
Oh, did she?
I am so sorry for this. So I have this wonderful little video on the next slide that I'm just going to talk about. And it's actually the Olympic relay team, the women's, and it's a great video on showing them running the race, and they were behind initially, if you saw that, and then they're passing the baton, and they're passing that baton seamlessly, and they're going on, and the second person caught up a little bit of time because they passed that baton so well, and they practiced and they knew what they needed to do, and then it passed it on to the third person, and that person really made up a lot of time, and by the time that baton was passed to the fourth person on the relay team, they were so far ahead, and they won. And so, can you picture that in your head? Okay, if you didn't see it, picture that. So the question I want to pose, and this is where we're going to do some sharing, is what I want you to do is introduce yourselves, and with that picture in mind, I want you to talk about what is involved in taking that baton and passing that successfully from one member of your leadership team to another. So whoever's going to take your place in the future, how do you successfully and seamlessly pass that baton? So you might be thinking about things that you're doing today, which is great if you've got some plans and some opportunities that are working. But if you don't, think about what could be in place. Okay, it's not switching here. So I would like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 people. So could you make 3 groups of 4? And however you want to do that, and talk amongst yourselves for just a few minutes about how to successfully pass that baton. No, there's nothing stopping. Now for everything. So, thank you for coming.
Does that work? It works here. Lindsay, thank I'm interested in what she has to say.
So you're gonna go there?
No, it doesn't matter, cause I know what she's gonna say.
Do? I don't know what I'm gonna say. It's a blueprint for.
We can go wherever.
Do those guys have?
I'll get there.
Yeah.
She missed out. I bet you just started this training. I'm sorry, I'm getting there.
Oh, thank you.
It's always so stylish.
I'm very young.
And that keeps us going.
seamlessly
Okay.
pass,
Yeah.
when we're doing it through a whole
So just,
pass as we talk seamlessly.
Yeah, I just had that experience.
Team leader, what was
So
your
that they
role?
can think off running.
Perfect.
for some reason,
Oh,
that
correct.
just
And I was
five
just like,
3 months
you
or
know,
two
and
jobs.
so,
And then
I basically knew how to step into a job.
what
And it was basically, because I all the shares and I know through
We had the same situation, except
and it worked really well for us.
because our team leader had everything the same, thought she was
And
just.
you should select the person that comes into it. It's kind of.
So our team leader, the team
they
leader.
attend the meeting, they attend the management
And
meeting.
you need to have
That's what happened in our first two. I was
team leader, the team leader switch was
mentored her for
in the
about 6
middle of
months
term.
and went through everything. And so I
Because
did
that,
a 2-year term. What do you want?
May.
And so I said to her,
Transition coming to me. I only the assistant had turned me out.
So, I mean, it's great to think
So
about
there was a lot of,
passing,
there was a lot
we
of
need to make sure there's someone to pass it to.
Yeah, but that person knows how to get the
Seamless.
you know, she has to be, she
So
can't just walk in
in
May,
May,
because then your course does a big halt.
So they
every
attend the management meetings
year,
and they're able to speak, they don't.
I would say that our course is find a warm body.
right?
No, they do not.
That will
She
save
stepped up
us.
and said, I did, and I did.
Put them in there and say, you can do this.
Who wants to do this? And she's like,
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. And you kind of, I mean,
For us.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know the culture, or so, you know who can actually handle the job, because you want to start with the people that just. But, yeah, but the
Yeah.
mentoring, right? It's like, I was recently asked if I would do a job,
But that person has to be voted in.
and I,
So it's not
I'll tell
always
you exactly what it was,
yeah,
it's,
it's not always
This one,
we do a holiday show
vote.
with 2 other
seamless,
courses.
for me, it was.
And so we needed a holiday
Yes.
show chair for our course. I have, because we only did it 3 years ago, I've attended one. I've actually sang on the show once. None of the background information. Absolutely, nothing about what goes on in the background. And the previous chairs were
I
co-chairs.
wrote it down too.
And they just stepped in and said, well, here it is. And I'm like,
So, yeah, so what we're.
I
what we're-
said yes,
what we
and
do,
but I, so
So that, I think that's
worried about it.
courses to use.
I give you one more minute and then I'll have us come back
Still
together.
don't know how to do what they want me to do. That's right, so, that's right, and there are other situations where no one's asked to play in the course.
Continue to shoot.
And it's not easy to do.
Listen
They
and-
don't have
and
people
teams
working
be a team.
with the person that is now in the position, so that it can, that's right, it just gets handed over, and I understand it's hard, and, you know, it's hard to find people that will agree to do it, but waiting until the last minute.
Everything was
At least say, call us if you.
Well, I do have one of them, one of the two.
Right.
She's a busy woman, and she said, I'll help you, and the other one, I'm scary.
Okay,
But I do
we're
have
gonna
somebody.
wrap things up and turn around. I know I didn't give you a lot of time, but you'll have more time to talk later.
What's your thoughts?
You can get in there.
That's okay. You guys are having so much fun talking, right? Can we have you come back around? You'll get more time to talk. Thank you. Erin, we're ready. What? Hey, we're gonna have some more great conversations, I promise. So just throw out some things that you guys, I hope, first of all, that you got to know some new people, but throw out some things that were shared related to passing that baton. Anybody wanna go first?
Well, I will, because, you know,
Okay?
So what I said is the very first thing is that the person who's going to be taking over that position needs to be willing to honor the historical knowledge and the person who they are receiving the information or the position from. And the person who is relinquishing the position needs to honor the person who's taking it. And so because you personally have to give your all, your identity in some points to another person, right? What you have seen as your job, you have to give it. You have to release it. It's not always easy. It wasn't easy. It's not always easy. And so it's like the person who's taking it has to receive the love, and the person who is giving it away has to give that love away, and it has to be that. So it was a very emotional. It was. Thank you, Carolyn. It was very because she is now our team leader, and I did. Okay. So, but I think it makes it seamless. Even though there was no document telling her or me how to do this. We had to have a connection.
Okay, I see Cindy's hand.
So, to me, it's kind of like the physical passing of the baton. They practice. So, to me, it's like preparing for that. I mean, in my personal experience, it will be someday having my paperwork organized. You know, right now, oh God, you know, and so just the preparation seems to me like it would be a big part of it.
That's very true. How about another group? Up here, and then we'll come back to you.
I just want to say that in order to pass the things, the information or computer information or whatever, the person who did the job before me passed away. Her computers were locked, her books were, and I mean, if I had not ever written grants for the organization I work for, I would not have had a clue where to even start. But I still don't have any past grants of hers really to read to see what she said about whatever. So when I turn in something to an organization or to a foundation or something, I hope it
Yes.
says what it said before.
Hey, sorry guys.
Bad deal.
I don't
Anyway,
use these
so it's
very-
important that information is all in one place to start with.
And it can be accessed
Yeah.
by anybody. Perfect.
And my comment was you might need two people who have access,
Yep.
rather than just.
Or backup redundancy.
Yeah, and they talked about also about the Chorus, actually having a Chorus computer, not somebody's personal computer.
Good.
Yeah.
The last group.
What a great advertisement for Google Drive.
Yes.
Exactly.
Man,
We've gone to
that
Google
is
Drive.
scary. We have too.
We have to.
I just shared that as part of a relay team, you have to make sure that there is somebody there to receive the baton. And we're in a position right now where I've brought it up as team leader to our management team, like, we need to be thinking, it's not till May, but guess what? I was luckily recruited by our previous team leader and mentored for about 5 or 6 months before I started the job. So I came in and I've done this kind of work in my work life. So it was a pretty, somewhat seamless, I think. And we've made lots of improvements and things, but you gotta have a receiver for the baton,
Right.
One of the things that I brought up is that, you can mentor somebody beforehand, but if they don't get elected, so maybe it's better to have the mentoring person be the previous leader to the new leader for a few months following the election.
Actually on the team versus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, still.
That implies you have more than one person running for the position.
Yeah.
I know, but that's really ideally, that's what we do.
Okay, so I think he's got things working here. I'm gonna go on to the next slide, and what's gonna happen is you're gonna actually see that relay race now. Is that okay?
Yes.
I thought, which one?
Watch the last count. Oh my God.
Wow.
talk so you can
See
step
y'all.
faster.
See y'all.
Oh my
Look at that.
So the point of that, I mean, when you watch that, they each knew what their responsibilities were, how to pass that baton appropriately, and what the expectations are. You guys came up with some great ideas in your groups about how to do that, but hopefully we're gonna learn some other ones today. So we are talking about providing leadership orientation. We're gonna talk about the blueprint that I mentioned earlier and how to customize the blueprint, because guess what, it is a Word document and it's an electronic document, so you might need some help, and that's okay. So our Leadership 13 project, the vision was, well, first of all, again, Karen and I were Leadership 13 people, Sally was our facilitator, and yeah, you did that too. And this was our project that we came up with, based on past experience. So our vision was to have course administrative leadership teams have all the tools available to create a successful and seamless transition for new team members. So we are gonna move on. So one of the things we thought was important to do was to survey the course leadership at the time. And we had 44 responses, which we thought was a pretty decent response. 80% of them said they don't have a formal orientation process. And 82% said it would be helpful, so we said, okay, let's continue on with this project, right? So here were some other survey responses of what people did receive. So I received a USB drive and was told to ask questions. I have a book of instructions for each team member. Okay, so those of you who have been in for a while, or maybe this is your first time, did you receive a box full of papers or a huge binder or, yeah. Well, we have one saying no, thank you, that's good.
Oh no, I got access to the Google Drive that said there is instructions for all the team members and you'll have your own folder that has your instructions, but there's nothing for team leader. There's nothing.
Okay.
For all the other positions.
Little incomplete, huh? They started, that's a good thing, they started. So, you know, some of them say, yeah, their previous coordinator helped them. Lots say minimal guidance. I was given a case with records. I have to admit, I still have 3 boxes in my closet at home. I'm membership coordinator for our course, and I did go through the boxes, and clean them out, but there are, the things that I have left are things that really should be scanned for prosperity and for historical purposes, and I just haven't had the time to do that yet, but I got those boxes. Some people were given the job description. Some people met with their coordinators and attended management team meetings several months prior to the start of their team, which is, I think, is excellent. I love the last one, trial and error.
Everything they got elected.
Yeah. So, you know, you may be thinking, oh yeah, this applies to me, this is what happened to me. But hopefully what you're gonna do today is learn how to make it better for your predecessor. So, we're staying in our groups. I'm gonna pass out some Post-it notes, or I'm gonna have Karen help me with this. And you can talk in your groups, or if you wanna do this as an individual opportunity, I want you to list 3 to 5 items, so one on each Post-it note, of if you had a leadership orientation program, what would be important to have in that orientation program? So one idea per note, and when you get 3 or 5 of them, if you want to.
Come up with a.
And I hope you have pencils. You can do it as a team if you feel more comfortable with that. And since you're already in groups, go for it as a group. So 3 to 5 from each group, one on a Post-it note all by itself, and then put the Post-it notes up here. Because I want to see 3 to 5 Post-it notes from each group up on the wall.
I have 3, you've got 1, you've got 1.
Good.
We're good, yeah.
We can put these back on the calendar.
3 to 5 total.
So personal.
And we can carry it out for anybody who wants to. That's wonderful. They have because this is what we need.
You can't really get a
Let's see, what
sense
else do we need to
of
update?
how all these
Yes,
parts
we do.
work
We have to
together.
update them if you just.
That's a really, I like that idea.
Because there's so much
I like that.
overlap in the jobs and the way they
Today,
work together.
if we did that and.
Personal.
10 hours.
Okay.
Going over stuff.
Job descriptions for each position.
Sharing of what the job is.
I'll call it a calendar,
One-on-one
mentoring and
Face-to-face, yeah.
mentoring
month by month tasks that
to teach the
recur
job,
that have to be done.
which is kind of what I said.
Year
Yeah.
dues and all that.
Yeah.
To regional and,
Yeah.
if you have,
And I
you have to
think,
do a 990, right? There's a
Right.
deadline for that and audits and all those things, tasks that have to be done at a certain time, that we have those on the calendar.
Up to that point.
When we change jobs or things like.
Lois?
About what you
Regional competition, you know,
Or if we
coaches and all those things.
Task list and deadlines.
Always a deadline.
Yeah, that's
So,
good.
for example, a mentor, regardless of what the job is to do, we have a transition, liaison. For example, we in our space, in our intake.
Been easier that way, you know what to do already.
We need a person who knows that position.
Not that they purposely do that, but we
Might not take it, but who's gonna be able to help people as they come into that
Oh, I see,
position.
that's a little different.
That's interesting.
Knowledge
So
is
almost
power.
like a mentor or a liaison inside, not just like a team, but in the boards.
Okay.
Who can mentor somebody in a group.
I've always done that.
Yeah,
I've been in courses, yeah.
Not necessarily.
So, yeah, they
Right.
little,
Right.
the course lets the
So,
team members and
like,
the team members.
density, density needed.
Select who's doing what role.
Decide who's doing what.
People's lives on the, people's, you know, feelings.
I try to continually invite
Yeah.
chorus members at large to attend management teams. And I think that really helps to demystify it, so it doesn't feel like.
It either entices them or drives them away.
Rocket science.
But you need to know the people that go,
We came out of it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't possibly do that.
You have to know the people and then that way
I've been
the ones
membership
that,
coordinator
looks interesting.
quite often. And if somebody, for example, something happened to our membership coordinator and she had.
We couldn't do it either.
Who's the one who's gonna
We got three.
person that
Three.
switch would probably
So how would we?
Somebody
that
we
we
could
could
just
just
do
get
has friends already, so they might not necessarily be from that position, but there might be somebody who's had that experience.
After lunch.
So in other words, just making the management team.
Some maturity is expected, but sometimes.
But making purpose, right, but do you get people that come?
We do it by Zoom.
And, you know.
Yeah, we do too. And we invite people.
Either that role or help.
Yeah, we have
Yes,
to.
you guys have it. You guys make
That's
the
really,
Time ago or something.
Right, and,
it can work either
right,
way, but.
like with the team, if for some reason I accept it with us, whatever, sports coordinator, how am I doing now? Linda Kennedy would
Working on
say,
a committee.
here, I'll come up with information, so it's almost like, have this desk, have a list of people to do that, that's gonna take a while. But,
And then,
you know,
you know,
there are
they
people
get
that
hit by
have
a bus and that's the end of that job, but I think you're delegating because it does train
But she was aware of it.
People have specific skills that they can use, like on communications and under communications, and we've got the fabulous Sue Middleton doing our website, and I've got somebody else doing social media, and somebody else does our newsletter.
You're responsible for
Three more minutes.
Yes, they get some experience and get your helpful side of the experience. Say that's the only contact to just think about that. Pulling people in our saying,
Well, today.
Oh,
I mean,
now my job is.
you haven't really read all that in your course?
It's not an issue,
Oh, it's like
I really don't wanna be the marketing coordinator, so please don't pick me.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
How big is your group? Be sure that
Right.
all
Oh, yeah,
your
we're on it now.
documentation is
Right.
like it's all organized.
You could use Climate Genius or
And that's the thing, can you submit it?
Climate Genius or Proofanizer.
Yeah, I think our total is 45. Well, you
Use a, you find something, so.
Yeah.
So everybody has
You use something.
I do.
What is it called?
Summer's
One
been
minute?
really.
It's one
Yeah.
note, but then I'll have to take documents and post.
Well, we're talking about
It's
committee
wired
meetings, I'm on the
because
RLT,
it's set up
and
for
meetings
your
are always
portal.
open.
Right.
So you can
Oh, right.
share documents,
Yeah.
and post it,
Come on in.
bookmarks or a
Is that,
subject
and that
matter.
is advertised on your website?
That is on the calendar, and I
We use the audit process, so now we document it. And then our financial producers start posting monthly.
Oh, wow.
That's the only good thing for us.
Yeah.
Oh, most everybody thinks somebody's on
Yeah.
the.
Okay, so the other thing that you write in there is you have,
If we just got together and be like, how you doing?
And Matt told that there were other districts with samples.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, if you have. Yeah, we tried that one time.
So she wants to.
Just go put them on the wall for me.
Internally organized.
Yeah, we're gonna go. It doesn't matter, just so they can be seen.
If they don't stick, you can use your pad.
Job descriptions when someone shows interest.
Yeah. They're not.
What it is.
That's
and
what
any
We can put them on the pad, we're gonna use the pad, but you can put them on there for now, to make them stick.
Look at what you're always, you're always.
Stand there and be the wall.
The light yellow, or they'll stay on the light
I think I
yellow.
just, if you
stay on the white
They'll
wall.
stay on the light yellow wall.
No.
Yeah, give them yours.
Oh, you're,
Oh, too soon.
Just put them on the pad, that's fine.
I think I can go for it.
What happened to Post-it notes that they don't stick on these?
Well, this is
Okay.
a fabric
I
wall.
know, I know.
You know what happened is I've already put them on Thursday, so all of this,
Yeah.
and then I just played with them and I did it down.
We're good.
Just,
Sally, may I ask for your help?
Sally, you're being paid.
Can I ask for your help? So I'm going to read these and I'm gonna have Sally try to come up with a summarized list. So if we have things that are the same, we're gonna just make that as a note.
Yeah.
That they're the same.
Alright.
So I'm gonna pull this off. So I can read them.
Oh, okay.
And I'll see, well, yeah. It would be better over there, but it's hard to see over there. See, I'm dropping a note.
I played with that one too many times.
It's not all falling out.
Best laid plans.
That's all right. Okay, so read that one.
This one says ample hands-on transition time with the person leaving.
Okay,
If possible.
hands-on training, can we say that's what that one's saying? And if you write hands-on training up there,
There's gonna be a fee.
Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping. We want a theme.
Brilliant minds think alike.
Ours too.
All right. Organized documentation that's understandable and available.
Uh-huh.
So you can summarize that. Organized documentation, understandable and available. Imagine that, available.
Understandable, organized, documentation.
Couldn't you just call that documentation?
Organized
Yeah, I don't know if it's just
documentation.
documents that you would use or any kind of paperwork that you've accumulated.
Let's just say documentation for now.
Communication. Alrighty.
What are we doing?
Documentation.
Okay. Documentation.
I like
like the word accessible, I think that's really important, what you mentioned.
I do too, so in parentheses, accessible.
Someone's watching cartoons.
Job descriptions of all management team members. Yeah, that one we can do. A mentor for
I
each
think you
position.
need to change to a dark marker.
Training would be a mentor.
But not necessarily, from the hands-on training, but, and that one came in with, by the person who's leaving, but what if the person leaves without it? Who is a designated mentor who, that you have, knowing that you can say, hey, this person in the course can step in?
It's like a succession plan, right? If somebody suddenly leaves and there's nobody else, it's to prevent that. Who else might be interested or could be maybe a steward of knowledge, they've done it years ago and could help that transition.
Yeah, and that's what you were meaning
That's
by,
what I was meaning.
by a mentor, even if it's not a
Yes.
success or your predecessor.
Right, it's kinda like just a basic support network. Yeah,
that is different. So a mentor if previous coordinator is not available or board member. Cause it is a definite distinct difference. Okay? So far, we don't have a lot to say, so we'll see what happens with the next group. This is sticky post-it note paper. Calendar year of actions. Calendar year of actions.
Of actions taking
Task,
place.
it was a task list.
Well, there's multiple ones on here, so
Oh,
that's from another group also, that's what we're trying to get at. Is that we might have some things that are common amongst all of us.
Or I know we had that.
Yep, so that's the next one, calendar, task list, deadlines, so calendar is key. Templates for use. What kind of templates, I'm just curious from
I
that.
talked about the template that I used to create the minutes from the meeting.
Okay.
And how I gather together, everything's on, all the monthly reports are on the Google Drive, and then the agenda has all the links, so you just have to go through and click and it takes you right.
So templates or forms maybe,
Yeah,
because
template forms.
you might have a performance form that somebody just can pick up and start filling out. New member form.
I mean, it could be something like if we had a key financial information audit process, how to do an internal audit, what types of materials are required from the financial coordinator so that other internal audits can look for X, Y, Z.
So I see that more, do you see that more as, written down processes?
It's a process documentation.
Okay, go ahead and put process documentation, procedures down. We'll see if we have that somewhere else. No. So I'm just gonna read this one, there's another job description, so see, we have some common themes coming out here. And then we have delegation, resources through regional and SAI. Could I have a little more background for that
I
one?
think those are two separate.
These are two, delegation?
Yes, delegation
Yeah.
is one.
Okay.
I think, I'll let someone in the group talk, it was how to delegate, that, when you assume a role, you don't necessarily have to do it all yourself, but
Okay.
some people have trouble delegating or giving up some of that responsibility, so.
Plus, when you delegate, you're also teaching someone what you do, and it's an introduction for them to maybe show more interest in that particular job.
Right. So, delegation, so let's put in parentheses, training someone else to follow. That's a good point. Elect the team, and the team decides the positions. So what that I think is saying is people aren't running for a particular position, they're running to serve on the management team, and then the team decides who should be in what position. So however you wanna summarize that.
Is that,
We'll talk more about that, cause that's an interesting concept, and that is actually, do I have any people who have boards? You don't have a board, anybody who's a board versus a management team in here? No, okay, so the board concept actually works that way.
oh, yeah.
And there's definite differences between having a board and having a management team, so, okay, perfect. Passing on information about what has been done in the previous time frame, transparency. So that's this group, so that's different from a calendar year, it's
more experiential.
okay, so,
Are you passing it on verbally?
You're passing on verbally to the new team what this team actually dealt with, so that they're not blindsided later on by a problem that might be coming up. That they don't, you need to give them the good end of the bad.
is that
As well
things
as,
that are still outstanding, or is it historical?
historical, if something has occurred that needs to be passed on, it's transparency. So that the new team knows what the old team was dealing with.
And you wouldn't use meeting minutes for that? Wouldn't be a meeting? I think that's a valid
Some of it might
point.
not be in an actual meeting, it might be something that like the membership person
Written something.
had to deal with some sticky situation.
So it's almost like the good, I'm gonna use a spaghetti western thing, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so
Yeah.
people don't have to search through minutes to
Right.
go, oh, we need to watch out for that.
Yeah,
Right.
sort of, so it really is an historical document
It is.
of some sort.
Yeah.
In
But
the
it's not-
engineering world, they call it a pass down.
Pass down.
It's a pass down, you're taking you're passing down the experience of the day to the next team as they come in.
Right.
And so it should be in a document, but maybe not for everybody's eyes, so whatever,
Right.
Right, it should be for the team.
for the team,
Or-
Yeah,
right,
so
so
it should
not,
be
maybe
done.
not the minutes.
It's like if you're a nurse,
I was just
at the
thinking,
end of
that's why I was
shift, you
using
pass
critical
on what the
condition.
patients
Right.
are dealing with, so that they know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing happens in a chorus. We have all kinds of human beings in our choruses, and they're going through different things. And if the new team doesn't know that, it's almost like they have to reinvent the wheel, have to start all over. It's like, oh, I didn't know that happened.
For example, this person doesn't read email. She might need somebody to send her text.
Okay.
These little
Very
things like
good.
that.
So this next one, I think we might have to leave that there for just a second. This next one is having former leaders available and willing to assist after transition. Is
I
that
think you
sort of
got
the
that covered.
mentoring?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Mentoring,
Yeah.
hands-on training, that sort of thing.
Okay, and then learning to delegate,
That was on there.
we have
Yeah.
that. And mentoring and setting clear expectations. So, the setting clear expectations, can we maybe put that beside job descriptions?
Mhm.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So
Just
just
clear
in parentheses, because hopefully the job descriptions include what the expectations are for that job, right? Or would you, if you don't agree, that's
No,
great.
Well, it's one thing to see things written down, and it's
Mhm.
another thing to actually experience what the job is. Like, it's not always a perfect representation.
It's a guideline, right?
It's guidelines, but coming into it completely novice
Uh-huh.
has been interesting.
Okay, so we can,
Not always
even though it's here, we'll treat that as something sort of
It's a
separate
place
too.
to start. but
Yeah.
It's not the be all,
I-
end all, I'm
Can I
sure.
ask a question?
Uh-huh.
Does everyone else turn over their entire management team at the same time?
No.
No.
Okay, okay.
Oh.
Like, am I
We do.
weird?
No, we
don't do that.
Okay.
I just,
You do
it,
every year?
it, like, it
No.
seemed like that was the case,
No.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's not necessarily what we were gonna talk about in this class, but it's a very valid point, because you do want to have, you know, key positions turning over at different times, so that you don't end up with an entirely new board or management
Continuity.
team that is
Continuity.
not understanding.
Okay.
I was just
making sure we're all on the same
No, what we had was, we had a new team leader, Gail and I, and then a new financial coordinator. We had two different ones the previous year, number 3 on now, and we changed directors.
Wow.
So we, you know,
That's
that,
tough.
that can happen. It just, sometimes it happens when it happens, but the more we can plan for stuff too.
Right.
But we had the stability of, the team was still there, there were just some positions that changed, we didn't go,
We didn't have the whole.
oh, here's a new team. What do? You don't even have to take handoff, a new
Well,
team.
and we deliberately don't change financial manager and team leader at the same time.
Right.
Because that would just be bananas.
Yeah, and that was, that's a valid point that I was gonna make, is that you wanna make sure that you don't have the really key, and everybody's very important, but those key roles turning over at the same time.
We
'cause
didn't have
that
a choice,
can-
believe me.
Yeah,
But you're right.
and life happens, so, as we get into it, we might have a blueprint that might help with that, and if we think about some of these things, if we have templates and forms, if we have procedures, even if that unfortunate situation happens where you have three major positions leaving at the same time, you've got something to go back to, right? So, you guys are so good.
Yeah,
Such-
these are wonderful.
And what I want to do is also take this back as we talk about and share the blueprint with you, because some of these things may need to be added to the blueprint. So, with that said, so let's see if things work for me here, now that he's changed. Because I'm not sure if they will or not. No, but that's okay, I'm gonna be able to handle this, I think. You may see some funny things, do not worry about it, I can't see that, but that's okay.
Nothing behind the curtain. Pay no attention to the man behind the
Since
curtain.
there's not anybody that's on a board here, I'm gonna open up the management team blueprint, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about that, and I wanna make that, I wanna make that view, and I wanna make that one page, and I wanna zoom it just a little bit. We'll do the zoom up here. Sorry, can't see my mouse. There we go. Let's make that a little bit bigger for you. How does that look?
Good.
Okay. So what we have, and I'm gonna have to reference up here, sorry. I actually have done teaching before, I don't know what's going on today. So this is actually a Word document. It has a cover letter that goes with it, that explains how this document is laid out. But, so one of the things, if you want to use this blueprint, that you wanna keep in mind is you're gonna have somebody who's gonna update this, that understands Word. That's a pretty good user of Word, because this is a Microsoft Word document. So, we try to make it as user-friendly as possible for differing skill levels, but that cover letter will help you. So, it would be really good to have your logo here, okay? And your chapter name, and call it however you want, because this is fully customizable. Let's see how I can move here. Okay, we'll just use the down arrow. So this has, you gotta love technology. Let me go back up, I went too far. Okay, that's all right. So, this is a built-in table of contents, so that's why I say there has to be a little bit of a proficiency, because you don't wanna have to go in and modify this there's a way in the cover letter, and I'm going to be your resource for this. So I can have one-on-one training on how to work with this document if you want that. But what this does is it works off of the headers in this document to form this table of contents. But let's look at the table of contents. So, there's gonna be a sample management team handbook in here. There's going to be a welcome with your mission, vision, and value statement. Do y'all have those? Okay.
Working on it.
Good, working on it, good. How the chapter is governed. So this explains, in this particular document, how a management team works based on the Sweet Adeline's management team handbook. In the board one, which operates completely different, there's reference to how a board works, okay? And y'all have standing rules, right? So it says the next thing is standing rules. Now, I've heard Google Drive mentioned. Everybody know what Google Drive is? Would you like a quick explanation? Not everybody. So Google Drive is out there in the cloud. You know what the cloud is, right? And it's a place that it's free, and it can be a secure location, so you don't have to worry so much about people getting in there. But it's a way to store all of your documents electronically and give access to your entire team, and then change the access to your predecessor for all those documents. And so this document is encouraging teams to use something like Google Drive. There's other options out there, but Google Drive tends to be the least expensive, tends to be the most user-friendly, and tends to be what people are using. Schools use Google, all the Google products, for example. So so what this document's going to contain is if you have somewhere out there, and maybe you use Dropbox, but there's a difference between storing documents on Dropbox and storing them in Google Drive. In Google Drive, you can update documents on the fly. You don't have to download documents and then update them. And they maintain the previous version, so it's really easy to pull back a version if you needed one. Dropbox, you have to download. And so if you store, or on a lot of our websites that we use, if you store documents on the websites, it's a great resource, but to modify those documents, you do have to bring them back to your computer, fix them, and I hope I'm not going over anybody's head. So, but the thing about this document is it has links in it to things. So instead of copying all your standing rules, for example, into this document, and then having a standing rules document and this orientation that you have to update 2 places, you just update your standing rules because this document contains the link to the standing rules. It contains links to resources for Sweet Adelines and Region 13 as well. So here's your management team section where it talks about consensus and all the information about management team. I talk about document storage in here, and we're talking about that now. Hey, did somebody mention calendar? How about a year in the life of our course is there? Do you have a strategic plan? So there would be a strategic plan in here, except it's a link to a strategic plan because you don't want to update 2 places, right? Financial information. That'll work. Okay. Meeting minutes. Do you guys know that you're supposed to maintain meeting minutes back to day 1 of your course? Yeah. Yeah, it's in the Sweet Adelines. Yeah.
Hence the boxes.
Hence the boxes of stuff. So meeting minutes, job specific, tips and tricks. So that section, the way it's designed right now, is not necessarily all the procedures and details of the job, but if you have those residing in like a procedures document, you can link to that for the procedures, but this is where you can put some tips and tricks information. And then we have the Sweet Adeline resources, North by Northwest, Region 13, and other resources. So, let me go into this document further. So, it's best practice to schedule an in-person meeting of your income. This is the blueprint. So this is based upon experiences, talking to choruses and things like this. This would actually be your orientation blueprint. You may want to use this and this only from this document and build upon it for your leadership team. You may not want to use this document for everything, and that's perfectly fine. But this is what the intent of the leadership group was to really come up with is, here's best practices for orientation. Let me make that a little bit bigger. Can you guys see that?
No, not
Needs to
really.
be bigger. Okay, I'm gonna go in front of it for just a minute so I can't see my cursor there either. Let's see here. If I do this,
Move your
does that
mouse to
work?
the other side of the computer.
What's that?
Move your mouse to the other side of the computer.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to work differently. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here we are.
just trying
Here we are. You are very helpful, and I'm almost there.
Can't you do Control plus plus? Oh, there you go.
I was just trying the control and it didn't seem to work either, so I don't know what happened with this computer. But anyway, so if you have an in-person meeting, which is best practice of incoming, outgoing management team, it can be a day, it can be a couple of days, whatever you want to do. You can break it out, and maybe it's 1, 2 or 3 hours a week, whatever. But an in-person meeting is so key. So that's what best practices are. It helps set your team at ease with their leadership responsibilities, so you go over job descriptions, and you can go over the good, the bad, the ugly that I heard, some of those things, and go over the calendar. And there's 2 things to a calendar. It's the calendar for your team, your leadership team, and how many of you, I'm just curious, how many of you got out to Sweet Adelines and looked at the management team chapter handbook? Okay. They have a calendar in there, don't they? That says these are when things are due, financials, audit report is due this time. So that's one calendar that serves the leadership team, but it also might incorporate into it a second calendar or a link to your calendar so that you can look at what's actually happening in the life of your chapter as well. So 2 different types of calendars. And it's not really a business meeting. We all love our business meetings, but this would be a true orientation to the team meeting. And Sally and Karen, if you have anything to chime in at any time, please do. So, here's the suggested outline. Welcome. You know, you may get new people on that team that you don't know very well, so it's always nice to have some sort of a team building, get to know one another, welcome in that orientation section, and then introductions. And introductions may include life outside of the course, like getting to know those people. Review your management team operations. So again, this is taken directly from, see, this is a link from the corporate bylaws from Sweet Adelines. And if you have a separate chapter bylaw, some courses do. It's not required that courses have their own bylaws. You can just use the Sweet Adeline bylaws and reference. But if you have your own, hopefully you would have that document out there somewhere, and you just link to that document here. But it's important for your new leadership team to know what your standing rules are, because that tells you how you operate as a chorus. And I'd say here, explain how you are governed and how decisions are made, because there's a distinct difference between management team and boards. Management team governed by consensus, however you register consensus in your group. It doesn't mean that everybody is going to always support 100% of the decision that is made, but everybody can live with it. Versus in a board, you have to go through that motion to approve, second that motion, have that full Robert's Rules, voting pattern on board. Okay?
Can you back up just a second?
Certainly.
Are you using the term bylaws and standing rules interchangeably?
They're separate. They're
Okay.
separate.
Good.
So Sweet Adelines has bylaws, and they have standing rules as well, I believe. But Sweet Adelines operates on a board level. But from a chorus perspective, choruses can either have their own bylaws that cannot conflict with the Sweet Adeline bylaws, or they can just reference that they are following the Sweet Adeline bylaws. So I know a lot of choruses don't have separate bylaws. They just reference the Sweet Adeline bylaws in their standing rules. That was a good question, thank you. Job descriptions, did I see that mentioned over here? You should have job descriptions, and you should go over those in that orientation. Now, does that mean that you need to take time and look at everybody's job description? Not necessarily. However, you want to know how those job descriptions and the tasks that those positions play interact with the other jobs on your team. So it's not a bad idea to at least discuss that, but if you want to have the person who's going off the team talk individually with their person that's coming on the team about the job descriptions, you can certainly do that. But you need to at least cover how these jobs interact, right?
Question.
Yes.
Related to that, this is, I think it's really important, well, all of this is very important. Is there on the Region 13 website, maybe it's there and I just overlooked it or couldn't find it, a list of kind of the generic job descriptions? Each course will kind of add or customize, right? But is there some template? Cause I've been looking for that.
There's not. No,
Why
it's a
not?
good question.
Or
Yeah,
SAI.
Sweet Adelines has it in their
Chapter guide.
handbook for chapters.
Yeah, is it complete with every position? 'Cause
Well,
I
here's
thought when
the
I looked at
thing.
it, it's kinda not,
Here's the thing, it's really up to your course.
right?
So there are job descriptions, the standard job descriptions that you see are like team leader, management, finance, performance, you know, maybe communications. But I can tell you that other courses use completely different job description titles for different things. And so it's, you know, those are just sort of named off,
Right.
are in the Sweet Adelines chapter guide.
Okay.
But, you know, it's that fine line that we walk between putting something together that then you think is law when it, or is the rule when it's not necessarily. We want you to have the ability to customize it.
Is there an option or a thought related to, can we, I guess each course is comfortable posting under, in our region
You know,
13?
We are looking at that,
I would
actually.
strongly
We
encourage
need a
that.
resource for our leaders, for all of you.
Right.
Where they're sharing, and that's been discussed, and it's something, it's not the easiest thing to come up with. We have a resource document section on the region's website. It's just difficult sometimes to get to that, but if you've ever gone to documents under the members,
Yeah.
there are some things there. But, so we'll either use that, or we might use Google Drive, you never know.
Whatever it is, keep it
But
going.
we do wanna do that, for sure.
Sandy,
Uh-huh.
you have 9 minutes. I
Thank
just
you,
wanna-
yeah, I was just looking at my time, I'm running out. So I really wanna cover the orientation blueprint. On the handouts, QR code is back there, these are out there under the handouts for you to look at, including the cover letter. So I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail on all of this, other than this orientation, to show you what's available. So review your job descriptions, review the state of the course, the strategic plan, the upcoming events and plans that we've talked about, and, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the current membership concerns, and this should probably say in celebrations and things like that. Review your course calendar at a glance, and be sure this includes activities for your management team. Document storage, how are you storing your documents Are you using Google Drive? Or is everybody responsible for keeping a box of them their own and a binder on their own? So you need to talk about that. People need to know. Schedule some time for one-on-ones with outgoing and incoming team members outside of this orientation. Really strongly consider that, because then they can get some of that historical perspective also. And share tips and tricks. And consider creating a membership plan for a period of 3 to 6 months with each incoming outgoing team member that includes regularly scheduled meeting times. Now that's a little scary, right, when you think about that. But even if it's 1 hour a month, just to touch base with who you replace and say, I have these questions, I don't know how to do this, or how did you handle this? I think that's a really good idea. So for the rest of the document, this is a sample management team handbook. So if we go down here, there's a welcome sort of drafted out that you can customize however you want to customize it. All the red items are where you can customize, but you can customize all the rest of it as well. Your mission, vision, and value statement, chapter governance. Here is a link directly to the Sweet Adeline chapter guide so that they can go out and take a look at that. You would put a link to your standing rules here. How you operate as a management team, including what consensus is, what it does not mean. The expectations of the management team. What are your expectations? Do you expect them to be there every month? Do you have monthly meetings? Maybe you have quarterly meetings. But this is really helpful to not only your new people on the team, but also if you're recruiting people. Give them this document so they can see exactly what your expectations are. How do you store your documents? I strongly recommend using something like Google Drive. I'll help you with that if you want help. Plus, there are YouTube videos on the Region 13 channel that talks about this as well. Here's a year in the life of the course. This was taken directly from the Sweet Adeline's chapter guide. And then you customize this because you're going to have other things happening if you want to use this. Lots of things there. And notice it tells who's responsible for this. Strategic plan, a link to that. Link to your financials, because hopefully you have your financials out there somewhere that they can go back and look at. Your meeting minutes, just link to them. If you're using digital, here's where your job specific tips and tricks can be found. And then here's a number of Sweet Adeline resource links for you. The chapter guide, the policy book from Sweet Adeline's, a lot of the members only forms and documents that Sweet Adeline's has. How to add a new member, so you get a new membership coordinator or a new finance coordinator, because sometimes that's who does this. They can go and find out exactly how to do that. How to resign a member, all of those key bits of information that we need to know in running our meeting. Marketing materials from Sweet Adeline's, there's a link there if you want that.
Song assessment tool.
And the song assessment tool, we all love it. It's actually a good thing. And there is a Sweet Adeline's Yahoo group. And then North by Northwest, the Region 13 links to all of the different areas there. And some other resources as well. Including, you might put your course website here, so that that's always available. The Facebook page. Maybe you have a members only Facebook page. So put those links out there. And again, this document doesn't necessarily need to be just a management team document. It can be a document shared with the whole chorus, so that they're
everything
aware.
in one spot, one-stop shop.
Yep. So, that is the blueprint that is available.
Great work, you guys.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. Our guru.
So, I have my email address here. You can schedule a meeting with me if you want to take a look at this and start thinking about how to customize it. And if you want me to help mentor someone who needs to know how to customize it, I I'm available to do that. Just think about, in order for your course to survive, it needs to be well run and it needs to have a good administrative team out there. And the easier you can make it on your leadership teams, and especially in transitions from one to the other, the better off your course is going to be. Because we all know, right? We get pretty frustrated. We agreed to run for this job, and we're doing this job, and I had no idea what was expected of me or what I was up against. And I will say, even in our course, we've lost members of the management team because they just didn't understand the expectations and didn't have enough information, and maybe they wouldn't have run, but that's okay because maybe they will later. But you don't, and you just don't want to frustrate people, because you guys are so wonderful and such a key component of your course operations. And I just want to take a minute and applaud you, because it is a big, big job. And we have 1 minute. If you have questions, if I didn't have all this technical difficulty, I would have been on time now. Any questions at all? Just feel free to contact me. I would love, love, love to help you with this. I am more than willing to even come to one of your management teams on Zoom and talk